love how it gives me a pop-up and then the little button says, what should I do? What do you mean, what should I do? I can't do anything.
Welcome. Today on the Geeky Speechie podcast, we have my friend Sugar Bandit. She studied speech pathology with me at uni and now works as a speech pathologist somewhere down south. And she is also a very big D&D / Pathfinder nerd and decided that, well, it's about time that I put these two things together. So in the past school holidays, she's been running some D&D workshops and little therapy social groups with some of her speech pathology clients. And I'm so excited to talk about this topic because it's a growing field. And I know in my work, we do some D&D groups where that one of the registered psychologists run. So I'm really interested to talk more about this and sort of give more information to everyone. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And I really hope that you enjoy this episode. My microphone that's like hiding behind there absolutely died on me, so I was only able to use my headset, so the audio quality for this one is not fantastic, but I'm getting a new microphone and some other like audio gear, so it'll be all good for future episodes. I just didn't want to wait to record this one, and I already had to wait to edit it because I was in Japan for a bit. So I really hope you enjoy this one. Our like communication fact today isn't so much a fact as such. It is more that in a lot of allied health, so like speech pathology, occupational therapy, exercise physiology, dietitians, art therapy, psychology, and a lot of other fields, they're really moving towards neuroaffirming practice or neurodiversity affirming practice, where in things like social groups, we're not sort of training or like encouraging masking. It's more so to just give a toolkit so that people can flourish in different social situations if they need to, but also to give them the opportunity to communicate with some of their peers that might also be neurodivergent. So that's sort of like the main thing for today. There's lots of research coming out about neuroaffirming practice and a lot of things that are sort of being rewritten in official documentation to, you know, adhere to those guidelines and therapy practices. So it's also good to sort of look at like, yeah, there are lots of reasons why things are difficult for people that have that, you know, neurodiverse brain, whether that's someone with autism or ADHD or PTSD or a language disorder or one of the personality disorders. Yeah, the brain would look different or react to different things in different, you know, scenarios. There's also people that are what we call a little bit neurospicy, that they might not qualify for a diagnosis, but their brain definitely has some ways of thinking like a person that is neurodivergent. So yeah, so let me know if you have any questions about that, but that is all for us for today, just so we can jump straight into today's conversation with Sugar Bandit and about D&D and part of social groups. I'm not going to go into too much detail on my PAX trip to Melbourne. I was originally going to, but decided just to talk to Sugar about that off camera, and the bits that I highlight in this episode was just when it did actually link back to the D&D social groups and how the National Disability Scheme in Australia pays for, you know, what is, you know, needful and necessary supports to support the participants for that. All right, enjoy.
Every time I get excited about podcasting, I was like, oh, it's going so well. I'm going to get so good at telehealth that I can go on. Because I visited my friend in Melbourne. I was like, oh, if I get enough clients on my telehealth caseload, I can go for longer to visit her. And then I'll have a day like today where everything goes wrong and maybe not. Yeah. But no, otherwise it's good. 2 days ago, my PC didn't work and it's working today. So yeah. So yeah, tell me about Speechy D&D, because I'm used to just D&D in the context of the psychologist doing teenager social groups and adult groups during the week. So all right, so speech therapy, D&D. So how did you go about doing that? How did you mishmash these two things?
With a lot of ups and downs, a lot of learning. So over the most recent school holidays, we ran I think 3 one-shots all up, 2
Oh,
of
wow.
which were the same group of kids, so they all liked it the first time and came back for another one, and then the other
Ah,
group,
nice.
new kids. Yeah. And so we did that with the critical core system, which I was really, really excited about when we got it because it was like, floor time's a big part of making that. So that was really cool. But now I'm running a 10-week campaign for the same group of kids. So we play once a week.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing that with 5th edition, not critical core.
Oh, okay. I think that's what ended up. Oh, well, that's not really what ended up happening with the psych, but it was originally just going to trial it with doing an intensive, so doing like a day for like 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But then to kind of do that seemed a bit stressful to get it all done in one. So I was like, well, if we spread it out already over the school term,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a bit more room for error.
Yeah.
So how did the critical core modules go in the school holidays?
Good. I think overall critical core is good, especially if a clinician has never run D&D before. It's got a lot of things to help you learn, and they've simplified a lot of things. But overall, I thought a lot of parts of it were a bit clunky.
Okay.
And yeah, there were a lot of good things, but there were also some not good things. Overall, the kids really enjoyed it. We had fun running it. It was really simple to run. When I bought it, I thought it came with 3 one-shots, but it doesn't. It comes with 3 little campaigns.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprise.
So how did you condense it?
I took some of the core things from so there's a level 1, level 2, and level 3 little campaign that they give you. I only wanted to run a level 1 for the groups that I was doing. So I took a couple of the key things from the level 1 campaign and just turned it into a one-shot. I made sure there was a role play. I made sure there was a puzzle. I made sure there was a combat, all those things. And just
That's so cool.
yeah. So now I can't run that specific campaign with the kids that I had on the holidays for that one-shot because they
Yeah, of
some of
course.
those concepts now. But yeah, I don't think I'm looking at running Critical Core again anytime soon, even though my practice board it. I think 5th edition is just better.
I think also because you have that background of DMing and then you've played with different systems. So you've played Pathfinder, first edition, second edition, and then did you ever play fourth edition D&D
No.
or just fifth edition?
Yep.
Yeah. So you sort of have like a better understanding of, like you were saying, like, oh, we have a bit of role play, we have a puzzle, so it was probably easier to navigate
Mm-hmm.
to kind of go, okay, well, what do we need? What are the elements we need?
And then Critical Core, it's got some really good stuff behind it as well. So they've got all the concepts from floor time and how they're looking at targeting that in D&D and just bringing those concepts along to what we were doing in the Critical Core one-shots and then what we're doing in the campaign. So things like looking at regulation, collaboration, planning. So I'm taking all the concepts that they thought were good for D&D and I'm just putting it in a system that I think works a bit better.
So because I remember the occupational therapist originally told us about Critical Core because it was Games for Growth that did it and said, well, they were doing the DIR or DRI floor time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't quite understand how these two mishmashed. But then I know that Mindset Play also uses to train all of their Dungeon Masters for social groups for NDIS. They also use the Critical Core gaming system, but they developed a training package with them with Games to Grow. So it's not kind of what you see when you just buy the system.
Yeah.
It was sort of like their own thing. Like I guess like they consulted with them and then created something a bit more robust.
Mm-hmm. Cool. There you go.
So how does it? I don't know. I just don't see like how does it overlap with floor time?
I think they're just taking a lot of the kind of key principles from how can we make this into therapy? What are we looking to achieve? So the first thing that it brings up in Critical Core is regulation. We've all got to sit at the table and feel okay, and we've got to take turns, and and if we're frustrated with something or it's not going our way, managing those feelings there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's got some really good concepts to it, and I love what they've done. So I'm just taking those concepts and putting it in, with other systems and
Mm, cool. So what were the age groups in the school holiday program?
So the one with the two groups that we did with the same lot of kids were like preteens. I think the oldest we had was 14 and then the youngest was 11. So
Mm-hmm.
that early kind of stage. And then the other group we had, it was predominantly 8-year-olds, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And did they have were they all neurodivergent, or did some of them have
Yes.
other diagnoses?
I think other diagnoses as well. I think if they all had ASD or maybe just the vast majority had ASD. So very ASD kind of centered.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's so cool that you got to do that. So did you focus mostly on the social group aspect, getting like peers basically together to sort of practice those skills? Or did
Yes.
you also do a little bit of like speechy work in there too?
For the one shots, it was very much like let's just get these kids in a room. And so with the teenage one, we had a group of three,
Mm-hmm.
two of which were clients that I was already seeing in one-on-one scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, I brought it up like I really think that you would like this, and both of these boys were like, "Oh, I'm really scared. I don't know the other kids. I
Oh.
play like I don't want to." And the parents were like, "No, no, no. I think you would like it. You should give it a go. Like, don't just say no." And like I ended up spending half of my one-on-one sessions for both of these kids being like, this is what we do, this is what it looks like, this is why you would
Ah.
like it. And if it wasn't for both of their mums pushing them, being like, no, no, I think you would like it, give it a go, and then you
Mm.
can say you don't like it afterwards. And it was so good because after the first session, the one shot with them, both of them ran out of the room like, Mum, can we do it again next week? Can we come back? Which was the best.
Ah. Happy snaps.
Yeah, and so with both of these in particular, the main goals are very social skills, pragmatics, and
Hmm.
I don't really like working on social skills with me. So I'm
Yeah.
an adult female, they're teenage boys, we're in a clinical setting in my space.
Mm.
It's just not like how much are they going to learn, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Was very excited to get them in a room with other kids their age who also have some social difficulties. And then
Yeah.
these two in particular got on really, really well. They ended up swapping our Switch IDs so that they had their
Ah,
information,
ah,
right? And
that's so
I remember in
cute.
the big final, the boss fight at the end, one of them goes, "Can we just pause?" and looks at the other one like, "What kind of abilities have you got? If I do this, could you do that?" And so they like were talking and
Ooh.
collaborating, and it was just like, look at them go. It was just the best feeling,
Ah, wonderful. Ah, that's so good.
right?
Ah, no, I'm really excited to integrate more because I love narrative therapy, which confuses my boss a lot because in cycle narrative therapy means something completely different. So I'm like, oh no, no, I just mean like storytelling and like how we all those like language skills we build. But first you have to tell a story or you talk about your day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking of because I got a box for my birthday or something from a DM, the Animal Adventures one. So it's
Cool.
very simplified 5e kind of thing, but it has like, a Cavalier Spaniel, but he's, like a
Yeah.
knight or something. And I
No.
think that a lot of kids would like that. And I was like, oh, but I'm a bit worried because, I don't know if, you know, they'll get it or if it'll be okay, or maybe they're just not as interested in it as I am. But what I've been getting as feedback, even kids that have like no interest in like fantasy kind of things, that they just really enjoy that level of engagement. So
Yeah.
that makes me very excited for it.
Mm-hmm. I
Mm.
love it. So I'm 2 weeks in a 10-week long campaign with uh, another group. The two boys I was just talking about are both in this group. They wanted to come back for the long term one, and then I've got
Hmm.
another boy that they hadn't met before, and that's going very
So
well.
is it an hour after school, or how do you do it with timing?
We do 2 hours, so
Hmm.
the session starts at 3:30, so they can finish school, get to the clinic. We
Hmm.
go from 3:30 to 5:30.
And have they been able to tolerate those times pretty well?
Definitely. Usually I'll be like, all right, guys, we're going to do this, and then we're going to wrap up, do our checkout things before we go. And they'll be like, that
Yeah.
wasn't 2 hours. What? And I'll be like, yeah, it goes really quick. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's so sweet. All right, no, that's really good feedback to hear, and I think I'll definitely, in a similar way, see clients that I know that they're just a bit too young for the psychs group.
Hmm.
Maybe see if they just want to give it a go, and then sort of go from there, just to kind of dip my toes into it a bit, because
Yeah.
I think it'll be really helpful.
Oh, definitely. Like one of the kids I have, I'm so proud with just how much he flourishes in the D&D setting. When I see him one on one, we're very shy, we're very timid, we seem very
Mm.
anxious, we're just always very closed off. We will wait for a whole conversation to end, and then we might bring up maybe a question about something that happened at the start, or so just
Ah.
we're just very reserved. Um, but every week when he comes to the table in D&D, he's always advocating for himself, which is my favorite.
Ah.
He and
Yeah.
another child often disagree with what the party should do, and he's always
Mm.
so happy to jump in, like, no, 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 we should do this. This is the right thing. We shouldn't do that. We should do this. And I love it. And every time I tell mom, she's like,
Mm.
no, he wouldn't do that. What do you mean? It's like, no, he is. He's so on it.
Yeah.
And it's
Ah.
just like being in that space. He feels so
Mm.
comfortable.
That's great. It was so good at PAX, having the opportunity to sort of, I guess, like sort of take out of the bubble of, like, oh, there's like all these people with different interests in one room, and then going into one of the little, it wasn't a lecture theater, but it was like kind of the like a conference room, and then hearing the mindset play people talk, because not all of them work for mindset play. It was just generally using tabletop role playing games in a therapy setting. So one guy was from Canberra, and I think he's a psych, and he runs in-person games. And then another individual, I think they run online sessions, but sometimes in person, and it's
Hmm.
also right around Australia. And they've been really advocating just for getting more people involved, and also contributing to the research, because it's such a growing field, but there's not a lot of
Hmm.
evidence to back it.
Yep.
Um, but it does sound like the evidence that there is, at least the ones that she brought up, because they're a researcher, and the evidence they brought up was sort of like, well, these are the principles it works on, and even going through things like play therapy, and that has a really robust knowledge base. And it was really great to see it evolve, and it makes me really excited.
So good. It's such an exciting kind of space to be in and to work out. And I've already
Mm,
learned so much in the last couple of weeks just starting it for the first time. And yeah, how to develop that a bit more ready for
mm,
next term. So the plan is every term I will run a 10-week campaign. I would love to
mm.
do two so I could have like older kids and younger kids, or kids who might need a bit more support or something, so I could have two different
Yeah.
levels. It's just giving the time to that. Yeah.
Mm. It might even be that if there's an AHA, like an allied health assistant, involved, just to do that extra level of support. Because with Minds at Play, what they do is they'll have the dungeon master, but then they'll have other, um, I guess, like, oh, well, they won't be clinicians, but they'll be like assistants that would do a bit of, like, extra help in this area, or like managing the table in a way. And then there's someone
Yeah.
that takes notes. Um,
It's kind of
so,
how we did the one shots over the holidays. So I wasn't the DM for those games. We have an AHA who is very proficient in 5e. He's played a lot of 5e over the last however many years. So he
mhm.
was the DM and ran what was happening, and I was the one running around all over the table helping the kids as needed, or
Oh,
anything that kind
nice.
of came up. I would kind of jump in if they needed help with anything, or if two kids, like trying to
Mm,
support the kids interacting a bit better.
perfect.
So I did all
That's
that,
really
so more
good.
of the therapy side, while we had someone else running the story.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said to the psych as well. Because he was like, oh, sometimes it's a bit hard to manage that part of it. I was like, oh, you can run the story. I would like to do the support part, or making things
Mhm.
easier for them to read, or sort of give them the tools to access
Yeah.
playing the game. So I think that over the school holidays we'll be able to work together on that, which
Perfect.
will be really good.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'm currently doing it all by myself now, so it's just me and then the three teenage boys in the room. I don't have the AHA or anything, so I'm doing the story
Mm,
and the support and like management and timekeeping and everything, and it's a
yeah,
lot.
that's a lot.
Yeah. definitely. I'm feeling that, but working out a lot more with how to navigate all of this and yeah.
No, well, yeah, let me know if you pick up any other kind of like tips on that, because yeah, I think the help is definitely needed.
Definitely.
Don't especially if you have kids or teenagers or even adults who just need that little bit more support.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be good.
Definitely. The first one shot we ran on the holidays, we had one boy in there who wasn't at the same level as the other boys, and he needed a
Mm.
lot of support. So, for most of the session, I was with him, drawing little pictures of what was happening to help him understand what was happening. He
Oh.
really struggled when the AHA was explaining everything verbally. This kid just
Mm.
wasn't able to latch onto that. So I was giving lots of little
Mm.
diagrams like, okay, here you are. There's a big cliff here, and you need to get to the other side. What can we do? And then giving
Yeah.
more and more levels of support as he was struggling with a lot of that.
What I would love to do, this is my like ideal like D&D kind of like setup, is multidisciplinary team. So you have your campaign, you all know what the story is in that, and then in your individual sessions when you see the kid or the adults or the adolescent, you work on like the micro skills. So
Mm-hmm.
if it is like, oh, we're um, your party's heading into cavern, on Friday, and there might be some puzzles. Let's have a look at some core vocabulary that you might encounter without,
Mm-hmm.
giving away the story, but kind of that pre-teaching concept, especially if they have a language disorder or
Mm-hmm.
learning difficulties or anything. And I think that it would really integrate so well. I'm not at that level yet, but I can see it. It's like the puzzle pieces are there. It can happen, and then
Mm-hmm.
OTs can work a lot on that regulation, and the psychs can work on the emotional side, where it's like, oh, like you know, let's see how your character would feel. How does that make you feel? How can you relate these experiences? And I just
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be so good.
Yes. I'm
So,
loving it because I know the majority of the table, I know them from a one-on-one setting. And so for one of them, I've just finished this big pragmatic survey with both him and his mum, talking about what
hmm
they think are goals, what's really tricky for him, what's easy, all of those things. And then getting that survey back after we had that big discussion was like, okay, I can bring these things into our game. Especially this kid's so happy to role
yes,
play with me. He's my best role player. It's like, all right, he's struggling with these things. I can put that in a social encounter. We
yes.
can work on that then and there.
That's awesome. No,
Yeah.
I love it. I think there's a lot of scope still for it. And I'm hoping as I sort of find out more, I can sort of like constantly sort of bring that in, that so like the sort of like podcast realm as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that'll be really fun. I just need to be more on top of. I feel like when I work on like, okay, like this week I want to like record this and this is my topic, then I completely neglect all my social media and then I miss things because I did what you suggested with like following more people on Twitter that are researchers and clinicians and that. But now I have to actually keep up with it. So there's always one thing, something's got to give. So yeah. But no, thank you so much for talking to me about it. I'm happy to further catch up, but I will maybe stop the recording, go make a cup of tea, and
Mm-hmm.
then come back if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. I also have another fun bit of news with speechy things that we're doing at work that I don't think I've told you about yet.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. You can tell me first before I stop.
Yeah. So we have a setup now, and I'm one of the guinea pigs to to pave the way with what this looks like.
Huh?
We do therapy at a farm now, and so tomorrow is
Oh,
days, and like I've got pictures of like me with the horses and the cow and the dogs and everything, and it's just we do speech therapy at a farm with animals outside in like kind of like a bush kind of area, and yeah,
ooh.
yeah.
Ah, you are just living my goals at the moment, because
You could
that's
just move
what.
here, join Sunshines.
I know. But unfortunately, I really like where I work.
Here are some of my friends.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Oh, the good boys.
I
No,
get to work with a lot of animals.
I love animal therapy, and that was like my main thing when I got into speech. I was like, oh, but I studied vet. I still want to do like animal kind of things, and animal therapy is a really good overlap, but I haven't had a lot of opportunity to explore that.
Yep.
But I do like you being the guinea pig. You'd be like, no, this works pretty well.
Yeah, so
Oh.
tomorrow will be my second day at the farm.
Mm, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I look forward to hearing more about that and
It's
talking about like goals and that. Very, very cool. Eee,
very
very
fun.
nice.
Thank you so much for watching. That was our episode today for the Geeky Speechie. Make sure to leave a like and please, please, please comment below. There's lots of different things that we covered today, and even though it was around D&D, maybe you have a social groups question or just in general how speech therapy works, or even groups, or what psychologists do, or OT, or any kind of question that you can think of, drop them down in the comment box below so that I can maybe answer them in the following video, which would be good. I'll also be bringing up some shorts from my trip in Japan. There's already some live, so be sure to check those out. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time.